guys doing? My name is Spencer from Blue Spark Films. I'm here with my co-director for our last fight, Shooter
From what?
1911A145. I
That's
really hope I got that right. Um,
usually you'd
and
say it. Usually you just call me Shooter or Delta, whichever one you wanna call me. So
it's
yeah,
Shooter now.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, we're here to talk about Void, which is a piece of lore that me and my shooter have developed over time that involves machinima. So
Yeah.
let's talk about Shooter's machinima for right now. I'll give it to you. So
Okay.
talk about Return of Darkness.
So Return of Darkness. I think what people thought at first it was this story about an ODST who gets trapped on a planet. He's trying to get his body out of wherever that place is. And you saw in episode 2 that it was a different story than what originally happened in episode 1, if you even watched it. Because when it came out, there were a lot of mistakes that I made because it was my first machinima. And I would say it wasn't the best of my ability because I was kind of rushed. And I guess it kind of felt like that because it was very slow paced. Not a lot of things were done to it with editing wise. The story was kind of I wouldn't want to say bland, but it wasn't very energetic, which I think episode 2 of Return of Darkness succeeded in being a little more energetic than episode 1.
All right. So like what are the main characters in the story?
This right now you'll see, and you have to figure out the Major's name in episode 3, which is Salute, because I never mentioned his name in episode 2, which of course I didn't really have to, but that's his name. So people aren't like, hey, maybe there's like some sort of special thing that he's putting on his Google Plus page so that we can figure out this guy's name and whatnot.
Google Plus.
Yeah, I know. There's something like that. Because it's probably the only place I have anything to post something like that.
All
So,
right.
so, and then there's Zoctal, Nick Romand, and a mute elite, which her name is Ria, and great, something came up. Uh,
Yeah, you got that skip message too.
yeah, I got it too. Okay, so aside from that, those are the main characters that I have so far, and there's also the guy that was in the EVA armor, and you'll learn about him later, and then
All right. So
Shayul as well. That was the
yeah.
other main
Oh God,
character.
I hated pronouncing that name.
Yeah, you were like,
I did like
yeah,
5 takes of it.
yeah, yeah. There were
Um,
there were plenty of takes when I was doing it.
but is there basically a summary of you can wrap up the series and how it's gonna turn out into like a
I
sentence?
I really don't want to say much because I want it to be kind of a surprise when I finish it. So I'm probably
Yeah,
just
but
gonna
like any
yeah.
any like words that I can like you can say like action, drama, stuff like that.
Well, the only thing I can really say is that Return of Darkness is actually the beginning of the series. It's a beginning parts technically. It's like part one of this huge. It's like a season of something or an act. I'm calling it like act. So I'll have these certain acts, and episode one, act one is Return of Darkness, and then the others are secret right now. So that's pretty much all I can really say. It's not the end. And that's pretty much it for Return of Darkness as far as I will go. So, of course, don't want to spoil much. So, I guess now we should talk about our last fight and a few other things.
Okay, so where are we?
Um, I was just explaining that I don't really want to spoil much again, but Return of Darkness is not the end of my machinima seasons or whatever. And I was just saying
All right.
that we should probably get on with our last fight because that's kind of, I would
All right.
say, the
So
point of the podcast.
yeah. So I'm just going to go into the lore of Void before I talk about it, because this is before our last fight. So I'm kind of like mapping out the timeline that Shooter constructed in my mind. And there's a giant timeline, Shooter. Do you just want to talk about that real quick when I figure out how I'm going to say this?
Okay, so when me and Spencer met, we were kind of like, hey, what's up? We had all these machinima ideas and whatnot. I was the new guy. He's kind of the, I'd say, more of a veteran than I am because he actually posted machinimas before I was even in this. So I would say I after we got to know each other, we started to bind our ideas together to an extent of where I was like, hey, why don't we make this insane universe so we can have a huge amount of characters? There could be plenty of opportunities to expand the lore, which I would find very
Yeah.
interesting to do. And that's kind of where
Well,
I made the timeline of the entire
yeah,
thing.
like I said, hey, Shooter, if you want to make something, and he did.
Yeah.
Out of his own free will, he spent time developing this.
Yeah, I did.
So, so this is kind of a summary I wrote a while ago on Void. So, in 2547, the UNSC Shadow finds the sister planet to Arcadia, and the UNSC names the planet Void due to the many canyons and gorges the planet has. It has barely no mountains, and it's either flat or canyon-like.
It's like Florida.
So, sort of. And then in 2448, humans on the world find ancient structures that were there. Technically, they realized they were Forerunner structures. And then in 2549, the Covenant Armada, the Mist, arrives and attacks the planet and land by a Forerunner structure. And so the Covenant land a Forerunner structure and just sent out phantoms worth of phantoms around the planet to take down multiple bases and whatnot. And so this is where our last fight begins, when a Covenant strike force with like 4 phantoms lands in a nearby canyon, and to find that there's a UNSC base in there. And this is the beginning of part 1 of our last fight, where there's pretty much covenant upon covenant upon covenant on this small base, and they're forced to retreat and to lead to the next base, where you can meet the overall main character, which is Captain Twister, which is surprisingly, he is the overall main character. People thought it was Scarecrow or Joker. No, it is the silent captain who's gonna be start making lines again,
Yeah.
because I'm making.
You have to make him do it.
So basically the due to a weird incident where the Covenant Corvette, where a Covenant supply ship crashes into the main supercarrier of the Mist. They just elites on the ground have no contact with the outside of the area, so they just keep pushing forward, and which gives the UNSC and ONI and all that time to, I guess, just like take everything out, like to get rid of everything, which is good. So the Covenant, and then it's peaceful for 2 years, and in the 2 years they are rebuilding a city that was destroyed in the onslaught called New Econ, which is the city that you see at the end of part 4. And so basically it's settled for that for 2 years, and then 2549 the Covenant land again, and it's the shadow of the in 2552 they attack again, and it's called the Shadow of the Mist, but led by the son of the supercarrier's shipmaster.
Yeah, no, I think
And
I think this would be a kind of a thing where people be like, "Ooh, who's this guy? You're always looking for that. At least if you're me.
Yeah.
If you're me, you're like, who is this guy?
Yeah. So the characters in our last fight are Scarecrow, which is the second main protagonist. We have Joker, which is kind of like the supporting role, really just there to keep pushing. There's Midnight and Kate. They are kind of like the Midnight's the sniper, and Kate's just kind of like, I don't know, like she just has a silent SMG, and she does a lot of badass scenes. At least I plan there to be. There's Forrest, which is the man with the shotgun, and I think I told Mad Cow what guns he wanted because he's gonna voice act the role, and he said I want a shotgun. So
Give him a shot.
yeah,
If there's grenade,
then there's
you want it.
yeah,
Yeah,
but there's no grenade launcher. He'll do an RPG.
too bad.
Then there's Robot, which is the heavy person in the series, and he's gonna go and well, yeah, he's just really awesome. And then there's Twister, which is the main protagonist, Silent Captain, all that. And then there's Thel, which is the main antagonist. And then there's just that one elite that's there, Spec Ops elite.
Well, of course, there's no Spec Ops in H2A, so you have to improvise.
Yep.
With the 3 armor sets.
So yeah, that's pretty much for our last fight. And there's a bunch of secret projects that are coming up in the future.
Yeah, we don't know when, but they're in the works.
They're in the works. I can tell you mine because Shooter wants to keep his secret, but mine are going to be called Supply Lines and 06. I don't think Shooter wants to spoil his, but it's kind of
It's a joint
it takes place
operation.
in yeah, and we've been working on it for a while, and it should be something should be coming soon.
Yeah, something. Just, wait. Be
Keep your eyes open.
patience, young ones.
When it goes black, don't keep watching. Yeah. So what else do you want to talk? What do you want to talk about right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not too sure because we got Return of Darkness covered at least what I want to talk about because I want to keep that secret because I've almost barely started it.
All right.
Because I have finished the footage for 3, so that may be coming out sometime later. Either
All right.
early 2016 or December, around after Christmas because I don't think I'll be doing anything with Mishima on Christmas Day.
Yeah, I've kind of just stopped, so our last fight's probably gonna come later on.
So after New Year's probably is what I would think.
All right. So is there any regrets that you wish you could change in part 1 through 2?
There's plenty.
All right, go on.
The mistakes I made in episode 1, I was starting out, but I still really want to change them because I look at it and I'm like, wow, I was this bad. Because compared to episode 2, episode 1 is like a little thing. It's just not there. And the mistake I made, I actually had to deal with this was actually having you replace the role as one of the characters that you actually saw in episode 2 in person, who had the British accent or the bad British accent, and that was a disagreement between me and the voice actor. So I got you in to fill in that role so I could at least get the character to be there because I really wanted him to be a character.
Yeah, and I said, hey, I can do this the day Return of Darkness was released.
Yeah, he's like
and this was like,
he sends me
I
the
don't know,
lines.
10 p.m. at night,
He like
I
sends.
think.
Yeah, I don't know. He's like he does them. Sends me the lines. He's like, you better get this done.
Yeah,
Really,
it was like 10 p.m. at night. I'm pretty much dead, and I do lines for Shooter, and they're really crappy. So I'm gonna have to redo them if he redoes the first few part. If he redoes the first part one, I'm gonna need.
if I redo everything, I'll probably do just either I'll completely just redo everything, camera angles, body acting sessions, and all those other things that I
Yeah.
did. He's really. There's also another thing I regret was having no music in episode one because I didn't know
Mm.
where to put it. And that was my only problem in episode one was where does the music go? Which I did that in episode two, which I thought was a pretty good thing, but
Like, I mean,
yeah,
music can always just be in the background at like really low volume.
yeah, I know. So, but I want to have in episode two, you see in the scene with Shayu and Jatal, you have a I don't know. The music gave um, what music usually does when you put it into a scene. It gives it a certain feeling
Yeah.
toward that. That's what's really important. For I guess I'm like 4 months into machinima, or 4 or 5 months. We're already giving. I'm like giving tips to like these little guys that
Mm.
are starting out and whatnot.
Yeah.
But
Is there any words of advice that you would give to starting machinima directors?
well, I'd say don't rush things. Add music when you can, and have it make sense, and make sure that you don't get into arguments with your voice actors,
All right.
and also no pause points. Pause points are bad, which we're pointing out in episode two by Inferno. So
All right.
yeah,
Um, I guess mistakes I've made was the entire part one. That was all done by me. Like the first entire part was done by me, except for the parts that you can tell that that there's another body actor.
yeah.
It
But
it
yeah,
wasn't good.
yeah. And the one thing I pointed out when I was watching Ola's fight, this before I was actually in joint operation with this guy, was in episode one where Vale, who was the minor at the time, and apparently he ranks up really quickly. Um, which I remember you were gonna change him to a major, which
Yeah.
that would be more lore friendly. Which is I was like, yeah,
I'm just saying right now. I'm redoing part one through four into an episode
kind of like
eventually.
a halfway through director's cut then.
Yeah, or no, when it's done, like when the series is done, it would be. I've actually said this in like my first update video before Arliss Fight came out, which was I'm going to be combining episodes into or parts into episodes once I'm done with the series.
Yeah,
So
mine are usually
part one
episodes.
through four would be preparation, and then one or 5 through 8 would be something else like invasion, and then the epilogue. So
Yeah, yeah. I think what people are gonna after our last fight, um, what I think what people are gonna ask is like, what's the Shadow of the Mist? And you're gonna make a story about it, and
yes,
who
that
are they?
the mist. I have the mist plans for 06. I do have that, and then the shadow of the mist was something that me and my one of my friends Halo Knight created when we were going to be doing a machinima reboot from one of Mad Cow's older machinimas, but we just kind of scrapped the idea. But I'm keeping the lore. I guess I may add something on Void in 2552, but I really once I finish 06, I'm just gonna try to get away from Void
Yeah.
and work more on like more something like real world. So
I think
yeah,
I think what I'm gonna be doing is after Returning Darkness, you know, which of my ideas are done. What I'm gonna be doing is either I'm not gonna be continuing with the story. I'm probably just gonna drop it for a while and kind of let some new things come into my head because I don't want. Because I know you stick it with the story for a while, it could get stale soon
yeah,
because it's like you have the same characters, you don't have anything fresh coming in. You need to have that
yeah, pretty
story.
much.
You need to have the new story, new universe, a whole different party of characters because
Without that, what do you have?
yeah. So I mean, you have more machinimas than I do. You had Ghost Town, which
Which was a
yeah,
perfect example of Machinima getting stale.
yeah, that was I'm trying to make sure that my machinima doesn't get stale. I keep looking at the last parts and seeing what characters did I actually leave, and now that I can have the opportunity, since I didn't make a statement that they were dead or alive or infected or something like
Yeah,
that, I can use those to make certain ideas, and then I can practically change the story with whatever. It's not written in stone yet, which is not finished, so I can do whatever really I want with the story right now.
all right.
So it's basically looking out for opportunities in the last parts, and the last parts pretty much form the entire series and what I can do with it.
All right. So I guess I guess that's the end. I guess pretty much.
No,
So,
no, I don't know.
really simple podcast. Look out for. I guess on my channel, if you're seeing this, go check out Shooter. I guess if you're on Shooter's channel, go check out mine.
Yeah.
And then go check out Blue Spark Films this Tuesday for something special.
Ooh, something special.
Shooter, I think you know what it is. It's at the end of this.
Yes, I know.
Yeah,
If you have stayed to
if
listen
you've
to
ever okay,
if you have stayed,
you are the best person if you've stayed through this video.
yes, you are.
So
Because we're just a
pretty
bunch of
much. Thank you
nutcases.
guys for thanks guys for watching.
Yeah.
Bring up file 921/Oni Void.
Yes, sir. But may I ask why?
Just do it, Elia.
Right away.